All right. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome in. I am here. I am so glad that you're here too. And I apologize. I know I had some technical issues last time. So I'm just going to write in the chat box, can you see and hear me? And hopefully that means, hopefully you can. And this is working as it's meant to work. It's supposed to be easy. Um, Yes. Oh, good. Thank you, Golden Gate. Thank you, Chrysalis Astrology. All right. Well, wonderful. Hi. What we're going to do in today's live stream is I have a few different things in mind. The first thing is I want to do a little centering and just take a moment to arrive and to just sort of settle in. And this is something I do in all of my courses. I feel like it's just a great way to transition from wherever we've been and whatever we've been listening to into the time and space that we have together. So we'll start with a little centering. And then I want to talk a bit about working with herbs from the ancient perspective into the modern world. And I'll talk about the vitalist approach and how the vitalist approach is like the bridge for how we can do that. And then, yeah, I think I want to hear your questions and see what's been on your mind. And once we do some of that, I might just kind of weave in a little bit about my upcoming course that starts tomorrow, believe it or not. Can't believe it myself. So I'll talk a little bit about the course and if you're interested, how to enroll and those details. But really, I just wanted to spend some time like live with you all and be in this live space together. So let's start by stopping and take a moment to tune in. So if you're able to, like you're not driving or doing anything dangerous, close your eyes. So as we close our eyes, we can just take a moment to feel where we are in time and space. I have some incense burning and candles burning on my altars. And taking these little steps are ways that we can bring ritual and ceremony back into our everyday lives. So let's just take a few more breaths sitting in this moment together. Okay. Great. Well, I am so glad you are all here and that you carved out a little time to spend with me to talk about how do we, in this crazy world we live in, how do we bring in the sacred and how do we start to incorporate these ancient practices that are, a lot of them are vested or like involve plants and plant medicine. So I'm really excited to talk a little bit about that with you because it's like there's that old adage, it's like it's not easy, but it's simple. Right? Like it might be challenging to incorporate these things in, but the practices themselves are actually quite simple. So let's talk about what the vitalist tradition is, why the vitalist tradition is a bridge from the ancient into the modern. And then I'll just share some of like my favorite rituals that you might be able to incorporate as well. All right, sound good? We in? All right. So the vitalist tradition, I think, is probably as old as consciousness is old. The vitalist tradition, the name vitalist or vitalism was coined probably around the 1800s, and it was adapted from the Greek system of healing and mainly Hippocrates. And Hippocrates said that, and believed and taught in all of his schools, that everything on this earth is infused with an animate source or an animate force, which means that everything that we see, everything that we look around us, has a living force in it, even stones, water, air. everything is animated with this force. And the Greeks called it the vital force. So this is where we get the idea of vitalism. But I think in the ancient Greek world and before that, it was just a very basic understanding that everything in the natural world around us has consciousness and is alive in some way. So if we really take that into our bodies and we really start to live in the world being like, whoa, my house is alive. Like my house has an animate force that is unique to itself. That the river that runs through my community has an animate force. The crystals I wear, right? Like all of the things that I have on my body and in my space are vibrating with this force. If we really start to believe that, it changes the way we interact with objects and with people, with animals, and with the plants. Um, and it actually opens up, I think, for us a huger or a larger um, reservoir of what can possibly heal us. So, from the vitalist tradition as Hippocrates taught it, the main tenets of health were very simple. It was everyone needs sunshine, everyone needs water, everyone needs good, clean, nutritious food, everyone needs rest, and everyone needs movement. And those five main things were like it. like like take care of these things and you will be healthy. And of course, if things go off balance, which they understood it does happen, we get bites, we get, viruses, then we can bring in herbs to support that life force. But each of the herbs have their own animate force too. So it's not like the ancients didn't say, oh, this herb has these chemical compounds, therefore it's antiviral. No, no, no. They said these mint plants have a lot of vital force. They're ruled by Venus. They soothe the colics or the gases or the winds or the tightness. They are good for the Mars and Saturnine constrictions of the body. So this Venusian herb will open up and soften and create movement of the fluxes or of the waters, the humors of the body. And in this way, the herbs were seen as these cooperative forces that were just, like they were named after gods and goddesses. Mint was named after Minthe, who was a nymph, a forest nymph who was turned into a plant by the gods because who was it, Pluto? I think she cheated. She had an affair with Pluto, and then Persephone, or his wife, cursed her into becoming mint or minthe. So, there's like an old system of understanding all of the plants in some way as these living animate spirits and creatures. So as a vitalist herbalist in the modern world, for me, I use this as a system to help me understand the nature of disease in myself and in my clients and in my family. Um, I use this to help me tend and take care of my land, to understand where my priorities are. Like I only have so much life force. Where am I going to put it? And to remind myself that I am not separate from the world I live in. I am cohabitating and co-creating this world. So I think this way of thinking about ourselves in the world creates more cooperation and more relational healing, which I think we really need right now. I think we really need to remind ourselves that we can't heal in a vacuum. Like, yes, you can take a bunch of pills in a bottle and it might get rid of your symptoms, but are you feeling vital? If the vital force is the life force that's in all things, and it should be like, high, like you should be feeling like the Chinese said that the way you can tell if someone's vital spirit is really good is they have a sparkle in their eye. You all know people. Like I know There's an herbalist who is, gosh, she's got to be in her 80s now, and she's got the sparkliest eyes I've ever seen. And she's an elder, but she is sparkly and so full of vitality. And when somebody, when people start to get sick or taxed, myself included, that little sparkle in our eye starts to fade. So we need to safeguard that and look for that. And I think using herbs and living in a vitalist tradition just allows us to bring in more tools than even just the plants alone. So does that make sense? Do you get that? Yeah. So some of you are saying, yeah, you always look for the eyes for vitality. That's right. So I want to talk a little bit about ritual, because our ancestors were so steeped in the daily cycles of night and day, the seasonal cycles, um, and the ritual offerings back to the earth and from the earth into their bodies. And so I understand that not all of us can, like go out on Beltane and run around naked and like put ribbons in our hair and, scream. Like, I mean, maybe we can, but like a lot of us don't have like those sort of outdoor pagan ritual spaces are not always available or even wanted. Some of you might be like, that sounds awful. So, what do we do? Like, how can we bring in ritual to our lives to make that connection? And so, the first thing you can do is just simply connect to the land that you're on now. You don't have to wait until you get that hobby farm with the goats. Like, you can start with wherever you are, even if it's in an apartment. And when I lived in Baltimore in an apartment, I had a stoop and I just filled it with plants. Like, I just bought as many plants and grew them from seed, and I had them in my windowsills and on the front stoop for my neighbors to enjoy. And I had a tree where I would put all my compost. So after I would brew a tea, I would offer it to this one tree, and then I would offer it to a bush along the side. And that's just what I had. But I was like, I'm going to make the space I'm in sacred, and I'm going to connect with the plants and the earth that's here, that's available to me. So that's one thing we can all do, is just make that connection to where you are now and to watch the plants as they move through their seasonal cycles and just pay attention. It's like, do you like it when someone pays attention to you and they go, "Oh, you got a haircut. It looks nice." Or they go, "Is that a new necklace?" Or, it's like I'm a double Taurus. So I just, like I love when people notice that stuff. But most of us, we get really excited when someone notices us. So the plants are the same. I don't think they're different. So when like a tree is starting to bloom, I'm like, "Oh, look at you. Oh, lovely. Just exquisite." Or today when I was walking my dog, the motherwort is starting to come out, and I went over and I just go, "Look at you. You're so green and vital." And then I ate some of its leaves, and of course I thanked it. But that's part of how I engage with my herbs, is I just eat them as I walk. So think about that as a way of connecting ritually to your earth. Maybe, yeah. So there's lots of things you can do if you have that mindset. You can make your own, make it your own as well. Another way that we can bring ritual into our lives is through daily teas. And this is something we do in the herbal apprenticeship courses, both in the year 1 and in the year 2 course, is we take herbs in as a daily ritual so that we can get to know one plant over a period of time. So in the first module, we work with nettles and oat straw. We start with them separately. So we work for like a month with, or I think it's like 2 weeks with nettles, taking it every day as an overnight infusion, really feeling it in our body, getting to know what it is and how it feels in our body. And then we work for 2 weeks with oat straw. And then we combine them and see what happens when you mix them together. And then every module, we add in 2 more herbs, and then you can blend those herbs together. And then you start to really get like, it's really fun, because as you get to know one herb on its own, and that's the way I recommend everyone starts with plants, is just pick one herb and get to know it well. Is that as you build a relationship with that one herb, and then you start to, and then you build a relationship with another herb, when you blend them together, it's like the magic intensifies, and you get to know how do their properties actually support one another, and how do they balance each other. Because with something like nettles, which is hot and dry, and oat straw, which is cool and slightly moistening, you've got a perfect pair if you put them together to create something very neutral. And then you can play with the proportions depending on what, body system or what kind of person that you're working with. So that's something that we do in the course. And for everyone, I think that's something that you could do is just, start with nettle or oat straw, research them both, see which one might be a good one for you, and start with an overnight infusion where you use, this is what I use. I just have a mason jar, fill it about, 1 cup of dried herb, and then about 4 cups of hot water, put the lid on, let that sit overnight, and then in the morning, pour it through a strainer. And then you drink that whole quart before noon and just let it fill your body and infuse your body. And if you do that for a month with one herb, you will know that plant very well. And you'll never forget it. Your body will never forget what that medicine means to you and what that pairing, what that pairing can echo in years to come. So that's another way you can bring in ritual. Another way that I love to use herbs is through body oiling. And this is something that I do. Sometimes if I take a bath at night, when I get out of the bath, I'll oil my body and then and then get ready for bed. But you can also do it in the morning. If you don't like being super greasy, like let's say you've got to put clothes on and you don't want oil on them, oil your whole body with herbal oils and then take a shower and just rinse off lightly. And that will actually help seal in the moisture to your skin. And some of the excess oil will come off when you tap dry with your towel. And then it doesn't get onto your clothing. But using herbal infused oils is a really wonderful ritual for caring for your skin, and also just bringing the herbs in and then touching yourself in a loving way. And I remember this personal story when I was in my 20s and I was in herb school and I was dating this guy. And I had an herbal oil and, I would put it on like every morning when I would shower, I would get out and I would put it on. And I remember him just sitting there looking at me and he was like, "You're going to age well. Like you really take care of your body, don't you?" And I remember just looking at him being like, that's one of the nicest things anyone has said to me. My husband currently says way more nice things, but that was, way before his time. But I remember as I was putting that oil on my body, being like, yes, I do take care of my body. And I think my skin, has done pretty well for being 46 years old. I mean, there's signs, there's always signs, but like that's part of the grace and the beauty of aging is you get these little lines where you're like, "Oh, I've lived. Look at me, I've lived." So, yeah. So that's a little personal story from my past about herbal oils. What do I feel about castor oil? It's a little heavy for me personally. I use castor oil packs on the stomach for like cramps or like food poisoning or like if there's been like muscle strains. Castor oil packs work really well. So you heat it up. You can infuse herbs into castor oil too. But for just sort of daily use, my favorite go to is sunflower oil, sunflower seed oil. Now, I know some of you are like anti seed oils, but that's okay. I really like sunflower seed oil. It smells good, it feels good. I intuitively know it's a good one, and I like how thin it is, how quickly it absorbs. It's like jojoba, in my opinion, except for not as expensive. Otherwise, I do love olive oil on the skin. That's another great one. It is thicker than sunflower seed oil, so you just got to figure out what your skin likes and how much your skin absorbs. So that's my thought there. So I think, let's see. I wanted to talk a little bit about, well, let me ask you, do you have any questions? Because I have more things I could just rant on about, but I would love to hear any questions you have about vitalism, about ancient herbalism ritual in the modern world, about the herbal apprenticeship course that's starting actually tomorrow. We can start with those questions and then I can kind of weave in other things as well. What's my top herbal ally? I go back to nettles. I really do. I feel like nettles is the herb I use the most and the most consistently. In my body, I sometimes get eczema, and my husband used to call it my witchy finger because like I would get it like on the on the outside of my finger, and sometimes on my feet. And whenever I get that little tickle, like the eczema is going to come, if I drink a quart of nettles for a few days, it goes away. And that's amazing. I also love that nettles gives me energy. I don't crave caffeine. Like I still drink a cup because I'm Italian and I can't not drink coffee, but like I don't need a second cup if I drink my nettles. So nettles I go back to again and again. And my other spirit ally I think is bee balm or Monarda fistulosa, and that's a native plant that grows here in Minnesota. It's also called sweet leaf. It's also called bee balm. Bee balm is its other name. And I really love that herb because it's kind of one of those, like, it does a little bit of everything. It's great for colds and flus. I brew it as a tea for my girls when they get sick and congested. It's really good for seasoning food. It's basically like our native oregano. So, like in Italy and in Greece and in Sicily, there's wild oregano that grows everywhere. Well, here in Minneapolis and Minnesota and in the Midwest, we have Monarda fistulosa, and you dry up the leaves and grind it, and it's almost just like it's almost like oregano, a little stronger, which I like. So that's another herb I use a lot in cooking. And then it's also one that I use to make for dream pillows for my kids when they have a hard time with nightmares or or sleep problems. We just sew a little pillow, stuff it with herbs, and I always include bee balm because it's really good for sweet dreams. So yeah, good question. Getting excited for the apprenticeship. Good. Me too. Me too. Yeah. So we're going to have a live launch party tomorrow morning. So if you are enrolled in the program, you can get a link and join us. And I'll just kind of show up like this, and we'll just kind of talk and say good morning and hello. And I'll kind of do a brief rundown of the course. But pretty much everything is online, and it's self-paced, which is kind of nice. So you can watch the videos. Each class is about an hour. Sometimes I go a little bit longer. So each class is about an hour. You can watch them at any time. You can pause it and come back to it. You can fast forward and rewind. And then we meet once a month live, where I do a little recap and I just say, okay, here are some of the highlights from that module. And then, I ask, like, what did you think about the herbs we worked with? And then I just open it up for conversation. And we've had some really great conversations in the year-long course we just did, because I used to teach it all live, and now I'm doing the pre-recorded modules. And it's worked out really well. Yeah. So is the force that I talk about a form of energy? Yes. So the way that I think about it is like, okay, well, if you think about the Force, like from Star Wars, if any of you have watched Star Wars, like Yoda, it's like the Jedis use the Force. And the idea of the Force is it's like the energy in the cosmos that you can channel, right? And the Force can be used for good or bad, right? We all know this. So when we're talking about the healing force, it's that force, that uniting force that is in all the plants, all the rocks, all the minerals, that's in the water, that's in the air, that's in our bodies. It's all the same force. And sometimes we need to nudge the force in a direction. If we've gotten too cold and too dry, we might need some herbs or activities that are going to heat us up and reinvigorate the life force, the force, to start moving again. Because usually when things get cold and dry, they get like they get still and hard. So we can use the energetics, and this is something we teach you in the course, is we talk about the forming qualities, hot, cold, damp, and dry, and how the herbs correspond to them, and then how we can use those to help move different patterns. Great. Let's see. Question: when and if I put essential oils in your infused oil, do you put it in before or after? I do it after. So what I do is I put all of my herbs in my jar. Usually I make like a quart. So I put my herbs in, I put the lid on, I put it in my water bath. Usually I use my crock pot for like 3 or 4 days on low. And then I stir it and whoop, I just got sprayed. I stir it and mix it. Then when it's done and it's cooled and I put it in my bottle, like my smaller bottle with a pump on it, then I'll add maybe 1 or 2 drops of essential oil. The last batch I made, I didn't add any. I just liked it. It was like ashwagandha, calendula, yarrow, and it was just really, and cinnamon. It was just really earthy. And I kind of like smelled it and I was like, I don't want anything. But I sometimes like to put things in it too. And I don't do much though. I don't think you should use too much. Like in a 4-ounce jar, I might use like 3 to 5 drops, just to give it a little bit of something. Let's see, what other questions? What daily practices do you recommend to feel grounded and centered as a mom? Yeah. Well, I've done a lot of things over the years, but I think where I'm at right now, the things that really ground and center me is, so I wake up in the morning, I wash my face, I put on my oils, and I always get dressed like I get myself up and I get dressed as if I'm gonna run into like the goddess of goddesses. I don't dress for men. I dress for women. And so, and my husband, of course, but like really, like I'm dressing myself to look like the woman that I want to be. And so that is that hugely has changed my life because I used to just throw things on and go to like drop off the kids in my sweatsuit and like, just be a hot mess with my baseball cap on, and like that's okay, but getting yourself like really saying I am going to like dress nicely for myself and for the goddess, then like that's one thing that I do. And then I have an altar in my home. And so after I drop off the kids and the house is finally quiet, I go to my altar and I light my candles and I burn my incense and I sit there. And I don't have like I used to have practices. I don't do it anymore. I just sit there and I just think about the people I love. I think about the things I'm grateful for. And if there's anyone that's really struggling, I'll say a prayer for them. And then I just sit and I just sit in quiet until I'm finished. It can be 5 minutes, it can be 15. I don't make rules. I just sit until I feel like I'm finished sitting. And that's hugely grounding. And then those candles burn throughout the day. And yeah, I mean, I think those are my top two. And then getting outside and walking barefoot really grounds me. So as much, as soon as the weather is warm and the ground isn't frozen here in Minnesota, I'm barefoot going out to check the garden and bring the dog out. And, I just really like that as well. So great questions. All right. So I'm going to add, I'm going to do a quick screen share. Y'all tell me if you can see my screen share. Hold on a second here. Share. All right. Can you all see the screen here? Oh, you did that today? I know today in Minnesota was like the bomb. It was like the best. Like everyone, I also go to the gym like several times a week, and everyone at the gym was like on fire because like the sun's out. It's like finally warm. Okay, so you guys can see my screen. Great. So I just wanted to show you, this is my website. So if you come here, you can see different events. I do host local events. I'm going to be hosting a drum making workshop for women this summer. So if you want to make a hand drum with a local woman who's been teaching drum classes and drum making classes for over 30 years, I'm really excited for that. So I'll post that. And yeah, so if you click on events, you'll see a bunch of things there. If you go to courses, go here. Aha. Okay, so events. So you can click on upcoming events. You can see different things that we're doing locally. I'll be at the North Country Herbalist Guild just next month talking about the magic and medicine of 3 native plants. And I'll be at the Midwest Women's Herbal Conference. So that's there. And then if you go to courses, you can see the Herbal Foundations Apprenticeship. This is the course that starts tomorrow. And it will tell you everything you need to know. We're partnering with my friends at Apothecary in Maryland. They're awesome. They're like a queer woman-owned business that sources from organic local farmers, and they have really high quality herbs. So they offer discounted bundles to all Sky House students. So you can order through them. And of course, you can order through your own folks too. That's totally cool. These are all the modules. If you want to know the dates, the schedules are the dates for the live classes are here. They're held on Saturdays from 11 to 12:30 Eastern time. And then enrollment is open. So you can click on one payment, and this is $12.99, or click on 12 payments of $120. We do have need-based pricing. So if that is out of your budget, just click on this. You can fill out an application, and then you'll see what pricing tier is available to you. And we have both monthly, and we have lump sum payments if you just want to pay it all in one. You can do that. And then you can join us at that discounted rate. So I love offering that because I really think it's more important that more people know about this work. And I want to keep it affordable so that everyone can learn it and share it and teach it and use it with their kitties and their dogs and their humans, right? All of that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Thank you for everyone who is recommending my course. I know I have a really great relationship with my alumni. I feel so grateful to still be in contact with so many of the people who've taken my courses, and a lot of them retake my courses. And that is something that I do offer, is that if you've taken my course, you can retake it for free as many times as you want. I mean, why not? Like, you paid for it, like, you can come back. So we have a number of students who went through the first year and are going to graduate. And then we have a number of students who went through the first year. And, like, one of them had a parent that got really ill, and so they had to stop. And another one had a child that had an emergency. And I'm like, you know what? Like, take this information that you've learned so far, use it, and then just set the quizzes aside and come back next year. Like, just, it's okay. Like, this course is meant to be helping you embody vitalism in your daily life. And if it ever starts to become too much, like, it's okay to set it down and come back to it later. So I just like to offer that to everyone. So yeah, so that is what I wanted to hop on and talk about today. I hope maybe that a few of the nuggets I mentioned might stick with you. Another thing that I didn't say that I do now that is so grounding for me is I paint. And I try to make it a practice to paint a little bit every day. And so when after I come home and I sit at my altar and I just sit there, then I go up to my office and then I paint. So this is what I'm working on. Let's see if I can make my camera. This is the one that I'm working on right now. And then I have, a bunch of other ones that, that I've done. And to me, painting is just like painting the goddess and, painting symbols of the heart. It really grounds me, and it gives me an outlet. It gives me a place to really mess up and then just paint over it. Cause like, it's really hard to mess up like in life, but on a painting, it's not that hard. You just paint over it and then it's done. So that's been a really great resource for me. So yeah. Well, thank you all. Thank you all for being here. And, I'm available if you have questions you didn't get to ask about the course or about herbalism. You can always email me at info@skyhouseherbs.com. That's also on my website. I have a contact form. So it says contact me, and then you can fill that out and I will get back to you. And yeah, I just encourage you all to follow your heart and stay connected to the earth. We need more people present and on the earth right now and taking care of it and acknowledging the earth and protecting the resources of the earth. So I know you all are, I'm preaching to the choir here. So I thank you all for all the ways you're doing that already. And I hope our paths will cross one day again soon. All right. Thank you, everyone. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. All right, I'm going to close this space, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.